This is a church community that has had a long history of welcoming the stranger, welcoming people to offer a place of hope and a place of connection and experience of community. We were the first church in Victoria to take the stand, to say, yes, we are a place that is prepared to offer asylum. Thankfully, quite a number of other churches have followed quickly on our heels, and not just uniting churches, but Anglican and Catholic churches. I think a mosque and a Jewish synagogue have also joined that movement now to say this is not just something exclusively that Christians are on about, but people of other faith and other faith traditions. So that's really terrific to see that it's becoming a wider spread agenda for support. We also had people who have no affiliation with us at all, indeed people who declared themselves as atheists and said, I don't believe in any of that, but gee, maybe I have to rethink that because I can see what you're doing and that's just exactly what we need. I was sitting in this office the day that news broke, and there was a young guy who called in with his kids in tow who said, I was just driving past and I've been listening to it on the radio and I just had to stop and come and tell you how pleased and proud I was to think, oh, there's the church in our community doing something. I served as a visiting chaplain to the Maribyrnong Immigration Detention Centre. So I would go each month and offer myself in pastoral conversation with detainees, some of whom told me horrible stories of violence and abuse in places that they had fled, and some who sat with me in tears because of the huge anxiety in living with uncertainty about their future. Some of them, the next time I went, they were gone because they'd by then been deported. So the 267 people affected by the High Court decision that actually prompted this whole movement to step up in a new wave of protest, thankfully we've seen none of those people return. So we believe, the Churches Coalition believes very much that our stand is and has been influencing government policy. We hope that they don't have to be sent back where we know, particularly women and children, have been abused and they're vulnerable, and why would you want to, government, why would you want to be sending people back into a place where we know abuse has happened and send them back into the care of the perpetrators of that abuse? It's not illegal to seek asylum. It's not illegal to turn up by boat to seek asylum. And politicians have perpetrated the myth that somehow or other these people should be, demonised and they're illegals. That's of course not true. For goodness sake, bring them to Australia, process their claims here in Australia, give them working rights fairly early on once they've had some quick and efficient initial clearance. We don't need to send offshore the challenge of asylum seekers. It costs us far too much in doing that, and it consistently further damages people. We need that ongoing conversation. We've seen the public policy, public awareness shift in just this year now to the point where there are far more Australians than less who are saying we need a better way. We need to see some more compassion played out in our government's policy. This is a matter of justice for me and for this church community, and I think for many Christians. When we see people being abused and mistreated and human rights being violated, then this needs to be, especially given that it's actually being perpetrated effectively by our government, we believe this is just unacceptable. We've seen our politicians on both sides of the House vilify and sort of demonise boat people, and refer to them as illegals and use language like that. And none of that language is helpful. None of that language is in any way life-giving to these folk who are by and large desperate, vulnerable people who've fled horrible situations that you and I wouldn't want to be part of, to seek out a better opportunity for their future.